So, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Board Game Breakfast, Monday morning, Thanksgiving week in America. I'm a bit nervous today, folks. And that's because later on today I'm doing a Q&A. But before the Q&A, we're getting tattooed. So that's exciting. Come watch that. It will be fun for everyone involved. So anyhow, let's talk though about board games. That's what the show is, a variety show about board games with lots of great contributors and things to talk about. To that end, we want to start this show, as often we do, with a contest. This contest is for this really fun game behind me called That Time You Killed Me. That Time You Killed Me, I just reviewed it last week. I really like this game. It's a very thinky, brain melty game. It's not one for everybody, but if you like abstract games with a theme that works, and a really funny rule book. I really like the rule book for this. You can enter this contest. This is for people in the USA, and all you have to do to enter this contest is to email us at contest@dicetower.com. In the subject line, put the word travel, because you are time traveling. Anyway, and you need to answer how many chapter boxes are included in Oh, it's That Time You Killed Me as an acronym. You can find the answer to this question. Just watch my review. I show it in the review. Anyhow, congratulations to all future winners who will find out if they've won. We have lots of contests all on our channel at various times, so you can always find out if you've won a contest or who won the contest at dicetower.com/contests. That being said, hey, I just got back from 2 weeks of conventioning in a row. Last week I went to Board Game Geek Con. I'll talk more about that later in this episode. The week before that, we were on the Dice Tower Retreat, and we'll talk more about that. We got all kinds of interesting things coming from that I'll talk about a little bit later on in this episode. So let's get started with some contributors. Here we go.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, we are Ryan and Bethany.
From Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
All right, today we are dusting off an oldie. Get the dust off this one. We were talking about Qwirkle. This is one of those classic tile laying games. It's got these big wooden chunky tiles that you are trying to lay out in a grid, almost like maybe like a Scrabble board or like a dominoes board, something like that. And you are trying to get these sets of 6 shapes or a set of 6 colors. You're trying to lay them out there, get the most amount of points. This is a game that we have found bridges really well between people who are gamers and people who aren't. This is a great family-style game that you can play with all members of the family.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why Qwirkle has staying power is because it has 0 barrier to entry. Like, you get the game out and you kind of instinctively know how to play. It already makes sense. And like Ryan said, this is a great game to introduce to people who don't know that they're gamers yet. You know, this is the one that you bring out, and that's when they see what's out there. But like I said, there's just like no barrier to entry. You barely have to teach this game, and people understand how to play, and you can get going right away.
Yeah, with the holiday season coming up, maybe you're around some family members that aren't gamers. This might be one that you might want to try out. That maybe it's not your favorite game, maybe it's not our favorite game, but you know what? It is a game that we can enjoy with some uncles, some aunts, some grandmas, some grandpas, that kind of thing. This is a game that has wide appeal because of, it's got that neutral theme, and it's got a simple, easy to entry, like you said, easy, no barrier to playing it.
Yeah. Well, everybody, if you want to hear more from us, you can find us on Facebook or YouTube. We are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. Everybody, this is Ryan and Bethany, hoping you have a happy, healthy breakfast. Bye
everybody.
Guys.
Hey everyone, I'm Clara. How are you doing? It's been a little while. I'm just sort of changing my setup. I think I still got to get my sound quite right, but I'm working on it. And today in my physical versus digital board games, I'm talking about a game which is only out digitally at the moment, and that is Ultimate Railroads. So Ultimate Railroads is an evolution of Russian railroads and German railroads. And I've been playing it on Board Game Arena. So Russian Railroads is out on there, but I've never got around to playing it. So this was my first introduction. I have since gone back, I should point out. And I've been playing it. I was introduced by people in the Dice Tower Guild on Board Game Arena, which is super cool. I've been really enjoying playing games with people on there and learning how to play them from them, which is great. And it's a really interesting game. It's a nice little puzzle. It's a worker placement game, and there's a couple of things that you're trying to do. You're trying to build your tracks. You're trying to improve those tracks, which are the improvements are different colours of tracks. And then every so often there are bonuses, but to get those bonuses, you've got to have a locomotive which reaches those spots. And so you've got to remember to do everything. And it's like, how do you optimize each space, especially when, even though there's a lot of options, a lot of worker placements, it always feels quite tight to me. It always feels like, oh, I wanted to go there. Well, my second, I can't go to my second choice either. but then there's still interesting decisions to be made. And so I never feel like I don't have an optimal, sometimes I don't have an optimal go, but I never feel like any go is just wasted. It's such a great game, and I've been enjoying playing it online. But I am looking forward to getting the real version because I just like the idea of moving my tracks out, moving my workers around. Although, what I will say is that I'm terrible at scoring this game. I'm not really aware of where I'm scoring the higher points. So also playing the physical version, I might be a bit more aware of that. So I'm looking forward to the pre-orders. And until next time, take care and bye-bye.
Hey, before we do 20 years ago, I want to do some shout-outs to some of our Kickstarter backers, and we do appreciate them. As a side note, for Kickstarter backers, we have all of our stuff in the warehouse, and it's starting to be compiled, so it should be shipped out in a few weeks, so that's exciting. Anyway, we want to say thank you to Alan Travelby, to Thomas Olenson, to the fact that I definitely need glasses to read anymore, to Andrew Haywood Evans, to Deadly Desserts. Sorry, that's a very big difference there. Deadly Desserts are... Deadly Deserts I'm more scared of, though. Jeff from Tabletop Toolbox, who's also a contributor on our show, and Stephen Isaacson. Thank you all for backing our Dice Tower Kickstarter. We appreciate it. All right, let's go back 20 years ago to Dragon's Gold. And in fact, I just talked about this in my look back this week. Dragon's Gold, I believe, is a game from 10 years ago that I reviewed. I think I reviewed this version of it. This version, I don't know, there's a lot, but there's been a lot of versions. This is not the version I reviewed 10 years ago. I reviewed the Stronghold version. But Dragon's Gold is a game in which you have a bag of gems, and each round, players are playing cards on these dragons that have gems on them. You'll kill the dragons eventually. Anybody who was involved in killing that dragon then splits the treasure. You split that treasure right there, right then. So it might be 3 ways, and there's 4 gems on that dragon. And we have to figure out how we're going to split those, because if we cannot agree, then nobody gets anything. It's really vicious. I find it to be very fun. You're not allowed to make future promises. You can't say, all right, you take 3 this time, and next time I'll get 3. Can't do that. It has to be right here, right now. And you can just say, nobody's getting anything, which does not endear you to your fellow players, nor will it win you the game, but it could if you're already ahead. So there's some interesting facets to this. It's not for everybody, but I enjoy it a lot. So it started out 20 years ago. It came out in a line called the Blue Box line from Descartes. This was a line of games. They were all in blue boxes. Most of them have faded off. You wouldn't hear most of their names. Like we got Demo Crazy, and there's just a bunch of them. This is one of the more popular ones. This is one of the ones that has stood the test of time. Most of them were also designed by Bruno Fedduti. I think Bruno Catala had one. In fact, there's one of them that's terrible, and I believe it's by Catala. Don't let Z know. He probably likes it. But anyway, Dragon's Gold was one that stood the test of time and is still worth playing 20 years later. Dragon's Gold.
Welcome, agents. Glad to see you made it through Swampy. I'm your collection management officer. Your handler, basically. John Cooper's the name, but you can call me Coop. There's a lot to talk about, so I'm going to dive right in.
Assalamu alaikum. Pandemic Legacy Season 0, as the name indicates, is a legacy game. But if you're worried that once you finish this, you cannot play it again, don't worry. A cool user named Randy Hott has made a website on which it generates random missions for you after you have finished the game. So once you're done, leave your board as it is. That's a challenge for you, that whichever state you left your game in, that's going to be your challenge for your future all games. Just go to the website that's shown in the link coming on your screen right now. And whenever you go to that website, it will always randomly generate new missions for you, randomly generated based on the mission mechanisms that get introduced in this game anyway. So you will always know how to play those missions, but it will select randomly different cities and different challenges for you. So it's a random mission generator which will give an infinite life to your Season 0. That's it for me. Happy gaming!
All right, so first of all, the Dice Tower podcast every Tuesday goes up tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that, Mandy Suzanne podcast. So check that out. You can find that and many other fantastic podcasts that are part of the Dice Tower network this coming, you can find they're always showing up, but just go to dicetower.com for that. And I also want to do a shout out here because we have Dice Tower News podcast, Dice Tower Now it's called, and Corey Thompson runs that and does a fantastic job. And if you've never seen Corey's interviews, Dice Tower Dish, where he takes different designers and different people in the industry out to eat and interviews them over a meal. It's worth doing if you're a designer because it's a great meal, but also they're really good interviews, so they're worth checking out. That's Dice Tower Dish. Dice Tower Now, and I should also mention, of course, we have our Dice Tower Digest. If you want to know what's going on at Dice Tower, we send out a bi-weekly email, which I will not give to anybody else. Those emails, but if you want to subscribe to that, that would be great, and you can find out things that are coming out from the Dice Tower. Okay, so this week, so I don't know what's happening this week. Normally I'm much more structured with the things that are coming out. I know a few things that are happening. For example, I know that I'm doing a Q&A today. I know that in all likelihood there's tattooing happening today. Tomorrow we have a Pathfinder new board game that we're going to be playing for you, showing you off how that works. We have a, what else is happening tomorrow? Oh, Shoots and Marbles is happening tomorrow. And Wednesday and Tuesday, other things will happen. Saturday and Sunday, different reviews are going to go up. We have several of them already scheduled. I'm looking over here at the table, a bunch of games. I'm not sure what I'm reviewing this week, but it will be something. Here's the thing that is different about this week. Because we have American Thanksgiving, it's a very big holiday, we're not putting out anything on Thursday or Friday. Not because I celebrate Black Friday. I think that's moronic. But it's typically a bigger holiday for us here in America, so we like to spend some time with our families. So we'll be off air for those 2 days. But there'll be stuff going up the rest of the time, and then next week we'll be back in full mission mode. So that's what's happening this week, if it's anything at all.
Hello, Prodi here, European and content creator, and today I will continue my series where I will look at a specific part in a game, tell you my opinion about it and why I like it. And today we will talk about Raiders of Scythia. Raiders of Scythia is a worker placement game where you get prepared in your village for raids, get provisions, get crew members, get animals, and so on to being more powerful in the different raids. Then you go raiding, come back. When you raid, you get resources and points and so on. Then you come back in the village, get prepared again, attack again, go on raids and so on and so forth. But what is interesting and what I want to talk about today is are those animal cards this year, where you can equip a horse or an eagle here to the specific or to whatever crew member you want, but you can just have one horse or one eagle on a specific crew member. And the point is, the horses give you fighting power and points at the end of the game, but the eagles have double the raid power and again attack and points. But one of the eagles, the one that I want to specifically talk about, is this one with this sign, which is actually saying that you can use, when you go with a worker on a town hall, the playability of the crew member which has this eagle attached to it. Why? Because usually you use your cards with the crew members for playing it on the discard pile to make his playability, or setting it into your crew, and then you don't have access to his playability. And by putting this eagle to that crew member, you will have access to his playability, and this is really opening a lot of strategy, I would say, because if you play, you can play even an eagle to all your crew members with this ability if you get this kind of eagles. And this is opening up a lot of strategies because you don't lose your playability of that crew member. Even better, you can use it more times by going into your town hall. And this is, I think, a really strategical point to use properly these eagles in Raiders of Scythia. This was it for me today. Raiders of Scythia, have a nice breakfast.
I want to be really clear here, folks. There's a lot of executive decisions I make here at Dice Tower. The name of this segment is not one of them. Yes. I want to be clear, it's Mike DeLisio. Anyway, I'm talking about Board Game Geek Con, BGG Con, which I just went to last week. I wasn't there the whole time. I flew in Wednesday morning. I got there in time to eat breakfast and then go to registration, so I didn't really miss anything in that regard. And then I left around 2 o'clock on Saturday. It goes the rest of Saturday and through part of Sunday. So this is the first time BGG has opened back up their con since COVID happened, and we're still kind of easing into this sort of thing with how conventions work. So BGG Con was a masked convention, but they had a mask optional ballroom, which was the most crowded room in the thing, and in fact they had to open up another mask optional thing, because that's where, as my eyeballs saw it, the majority of people were playing, by far. Although there were people in there with masks on and stuff, but it was very chill, very cool. So they had a hot games section at Board Game Geek Con. So there's two ways. They have a hot games room with the hottest games that they have. And then there is in the library, which their library is gigantic, they have, I believe there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it was 4, 5, or 6 shelves, I don't remember, that were full of new games. Although those new games started by being some games that came from early 2020 all the way up till now. So there's games just all over the place. So that's where most people get their games, because, hey, Cult of the New. Everyone's playing. I mean, you could still go get games from the library, and I saw all sorts of things being played. Some things I noticed, I saw some people playing Descent, the 3rd edition, and I went up and talked to them, and they were on, like, mission 12. And I said, oh, you know, did you guys play this at home? No, they had started it there and had just kept playing through and through and through. That's one cool way to play at a con. I saw people playing, of course, new hotness, new stuff, but old things, like I said. In the hot games room, definitely Bitoku was the 3 busiest games, as far as I could tell, were Golem, Arc Nova, and the other new one from Capstone Games, which is the new... who's the guy who makes the cards that do all kinds of things? Maracaibo guy.
Oh, Fister.
The new
Boone Lake.
Boone Lake. Thank you, Mike. Mike has redeemed himself for the title of this segment. So those, yeah. So Boone Lake, Arc Nova, and Golem were, I think, the busiest games. Gutenberg was getting a lot of play, as was the new Azul, although very mixed reactions on that. For people who liked Azul, they were taken aback. It's a very different game, and heavier gamers seem to like that more. They also had some games in there like Beyond the Sun and Dune Imperium, but because they're not the newest things in the world, they were not as crowded, although I saw lots of people playing them. And then, of course, there was Messina, which is the new Suchi game, and a few other games in there that were hot and people were playing them, like Bitoku and things like that. So that room was always crowded. I went and played in there once, but I do like the idea of a hot game room. I saw a Teach You tournament happen, Battling Tops happen. There were various events that happened, but it's a mostly eventless con with people just playing games. There was about 8 to 10 publishers that were there. They were not overwhelmed with people, but they all told me, what did someone tell me? I liked the term. They said it was deceptively steady. So that meant people were coming through consistently and getting games and getting things. So that part worked well. The whole thing, I thought, went very, very well. If you've never been to one and you're thinking about going to a con, you should go to a Dice Tower con. But I jest. If you're in the Texas area, or if you just like playing hardcore strategy games, there's really not a better place than that than Board Game Geek Con. I had a lot of fun when I was there, saw a lot of friends, if you were there, and said hi. I appreciate it. I was not traveling with my fedoras on, so not as easily recognizable, although I'm finding that hiding a 6'4" giant frame isn't quite so simple. But fun games, fun times. I'm glad to see things are somewhat coming back to normal, and that's BGG.con.
Hey everyone! Today on the Plastic Canvas, we're turning the Cleric Beast from Bloodborne from this into this in just 2 minutes. Hey everyone, Matt here from the Plastic Canvas, and today on 2 Minute Mini we are painting the Cleric Beast from Bloodborne. Now, a few episodes ago I painted the Scourge Beast, which are also from Bloodborne, and in that video I talked about a really good way that I found to paint highly textured minis, ones that have lots of hair and fur and detailing like that. And so I'm painting the Cleric Beast here in the exact same way as I painted the Scourge Beast. And that's by laying down a zenithal undercoat coat first, so you can see I primed the Mini in black all over, and then using grey, I dry brushed in a top-down motion covering a fair bit of the Mini, and then I went to white, dry brushed again in a top-down motion, but just didn't cover up all of the grey. And that just makes all of the upper-facing portions of each part of the cleric beast, like the upper parts of the arms and legs and the top of the head, much, much brighter than the underside. And then to base coat from there, I just used some different mixtures of washes. So for the skin, I used a black and blue mixture, and then for the fur, it was more of a green, blue, and brown mixture. And what this does is, because the washes are so thin, it allows all of the different tones of that zenithal undercoat to come through. So anywhere that the wash goes over white, it appears much, much lighter than anywhere it goes over the black. And so effectively you get completely free highlighting and shading, because that would be really, really difficult and time consuming to do if you were going to individually pick out every single bit of fur. And then from there, it was a simple case of picking out all of the claws and bones and the eyes and all of those other parts, which I swapped over to my acrylics with, just so that it wouldn't flow quite so much, just in those areas where I needed a little bit more control. But if you would like to see the full version of this video, where I go through everything in greater detail, you can head over to my channel, The Plastic Canvas, and I hope you enjoy your breakfast.
Does anyone think he used the word simple there too many times? That's very impressive. All right, really short review for you today, folks. At Dice Diary Retreat, some people from Maryland brought me some caramel popcorn from Fisher's. All right, I'm going to give these people credit. This is John and Sam Basson, because it's their fault that I ate this. This is Old Bay seasoned caramel popcorn. So yes, Old Bay spice, which is in America traditionally used on shrimp and other seafoods. That's usually what I've seen it used on. It can be used on various things. Put on top of caramel popcorn. You know what it smells like? Old Bay. You know what it doesn't smell like? Caramel at all. But it looks like caramel. See? Woo! So if you'll notice, half of this is gone. So it can't be horrible, or there'd be the 5 pieces gone. Well, I put it in my mouth. At first I taste caramel popcorn. And then the Old Bay punches you in the jaw. And you're like, huh, I'm actually eating shrimp. It doesn't taste like shrimp though. Still tastes like caramel popcorn. But you keep thinking about shrimp in the back of your head. And then you're done, you're like, why did anyone in the world decide that this was a combo that should be done? Now I was told it's because people in Maryland put Old Bay spice in everything. And I met someone from Maryland this week at BGG Con who was like, yes, some people even put on ice cream. Like, great. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. See Jurassic Park for that kind of information. Here's the thing. I tasted it and I was like, why would anyone do that? It wasn't terrible. It tasted like caramel popcorn with an aftertaste of Old Spice. But if you notice, I just ate another piece.
Old Spice.
That's not Old Spice. That'd be terrible. Old Bay. Old Spice would be a horrible way to go. So, this is good. I actually had to tell some of the guys here at the studio to not eat all of it so I could show it to you. Here, it's going to be gone. We're going to eat all of it. But I'm never going to buy it. Right, because I could just buy caramel popcorn. If this was on the shelf and caramel popcorn's there, we'd try that. Now, I try all kinds of new and interesting snacks. Recently, we had, what did we have? We had lemonade popcorn. We got pink salt popcorn, which makes no sense to me because it wasn't pink and it just tastes like salted popcorn. So this is interesting. I enjoyed it. And if you have an interesting snack, I'm certainly willing to take a look at them. And if you live in Baltimore, this might be a good gift to give someone because it's not terrible, but also not amazing. 6 out of 10. Old Bay caramel popcorn.
Hi, I'm Jordan. This is Weeknight Games, where I talk about a game that's fun to play on a weeknight. This is Dive from Sit Down Games. Now, this is a game that, you know, it's one of those games that kind of feels like it's built around a gimmick, but the gimmick really works in this one. And so, in this game, you are divers diving into the water, trying to see different types of sea life, but also avoiding sharks, like I would want to do. It has a stack of these translucent tiles, and they're about this big, and you're diving down, and you're going to make you're programming how you're going down so you can avoid the sharks. And so you're going to be programming behind a screen, and then everybody reveals their program, and then you show the cards one by one to see where the sharks were and where the other wildlife was. And you score points based off of what you can see and what you avoid, that kind of thing. But these translucent cards are really cool because when they're all stacked up, you can see through them, but it's hard to kind of tell how deep they are because, you know, there's different cutouts in them. Sometimes the cards are flipped, so it's printed on one side but not the other, so it maybe looks a little deeper than it really is. It just works really cool, and it makes for some really kind of interesting guesses. You know, there's a lot of guessing with it, but it makes for a really interesting time. It feels really unique. It feels unlike most games I've really played. I think that, you know, that these translucent cards, of course, are unique, but even the way that you're programming and kind of, you know, that whole kind of mechanic of guessing how deep things are, like that's a really interesting thing. So if this one this one looks gorgeous, but if it looks interesting to you, I would definitely check out Dive because I think it's a great game. I'm Jordan. Thanks.
Hi, my name's Jonathan Hicks from Board Game Opinions, and this week's gaming tip is a strategy tip for Splendor. Now, many people think of Splendor as an engine building game. Essentially, you're trying to acquire gems that you then use to buy cards, and the cards give you victory points. And it's the first player to 15 victory points. Now, gamers particularly will go for the engine building strategy of getting a lot of the cheap cards that don't give you any points, because each time you buy a card, it gives you a discount off a future purchase. So they'll try and build up a big stack of cards that are cheap and give you discounts to buy the more expensive cards. That takes time though. You can actually beat them, if you're careful, by simply saving up for the most expensive cards. So don't worry about getting any of the cheap cards, just keep getting gems and gems and gems until you have enough gems to buy the most expensive cards. Now there's two cards that you're really looking for in this strategy. There's the 5-point cards. These will require 7 gems of one colour and 3 gems of another colour. The maximum number of gems you can hold is 10 gems, so that's just enough. If you save up the gems, you can buy this. You do that 3 times, you win. Now it's going to feel inefficient, particularly because you'll often have to take 2 gems of the same colour. Everyone will look at you and thinking, they don't know what they're doing, until you beat them. There's one other card you can go for though, other than the 5-point cards, which is a 4-point card, so it's not quite as good, but it only requires 7 gems of one colour. Don't go for any other kind of card, it requires too many gems. But if you save up for the 4-point ones and the 5-point ones, maybe you can grab a quick 1-point card to complement the 5-point card near the end and beat everybody. Now, I'll warn you, this tactic won't work in a 2-player or a 3-player game because there aren't enough gems out. But in a 4-player game, there are enough gems that you can get 7 of one colour and 3 of another colour and just save up and race to victory. So give it a go, see what you think, see if you can beat those engine builders. Alright, thanks for watching, I'll see you next time. Bye!
Thanks so much for watching Board Game Breakfast, everybody. In just a few minutes, at 10 o'clock, Z's going to be doing What's Happening. And around 11 o'clock, Pain! All right, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you later today. Lots of live things going up today and tomorrow. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast on the Dice Tower.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production.